RespectMyRegion.com. We're here today on another episode of the New York Cannabis Podcast, brought to you guys by Trees, our premier retail, point-of-sale, e-commerce loyalty, and analytics partner. Today we've got a very special guest. We've got the Daily Green from Times Square. My guy Chris Thompson in the building. How we doing, bro?
Doing great. Thanks for having me, man.
Man, it's a pleasure to have you. I'm fresh off a New York trip, Chris. I didn't see you walking around. I don't remember seeing any Daily Green stuff walking around at Hall of Flowers. Did you guys make it out there? Did you get to go check out some of the brands?
Yeah, absolutely. Our director of purchasing was out there. I was out there. We had a few team members out there. So
Sick, dude.
Yeah, super fun. I definitely preferred Revelry the month before, but Revelry was amazing. But two great shows back to back in New York.
I have to ask, because people in person, and you here now as well, the comparison between the two is very natural. But as somebody who goes to something like a Revelry in California and then something like a Hall of Flowers I've been to a lot, they're so different in so many ways. In your comparison there, what do you feel was the best part of Revelry? And let's keep it positive. What was your favorite part about Hall of Flowers as well? The best parts for you?
Yeah, no, I mean, again, I had a good time at both shows.
Mm-hmm.
They were both at Pier 36, which a little bit was easy, just like going to the same place. Revelry is so connected with the community here in New York. They started from the community and they were just they know everyone. It was a busier show. And I would say a little bit more.
From the videos, it looked like it had a lot more energy.
Yeah, I mean, definitely energy. And it was a lot of the local brands too. Some smaller farms coming up from upstate. Just really local vibe. Hall of Flowers is still great too. I think it was a little bit different because it had a lot of the West Coast brands who were trying to break into New York. Kind of appearing there, which is still great to see, especially as someone who, again, is working for a little bit more tourist-focused dispensary in some aspects.
It's important now to have a balanced menu between the two. I think it's absolutely undeniable that New York's medical market and then that window of time where the bodegas exploded because of the mayor or whatever, his comments on TV, right? When that window of time happened and it became super gray and there's this medical, which was legal, and then there's all this bodega stuff, it was undeniable that there was presence from brands across the country, not just California. And bodegas, I was seeing Colorado brands. Wana and Wild are not from Cali. You know what I mean? Like, I was seeing everything that was popular at so many of the locations. And so for me, it's like undeniable that eventually they would come. It was interesting because Missouri was there, Massachusetts was there, New Jersey was there. When I was looking at Revelry, it was New York, and it should always be New York, by New York, for New York. But there is this other element of the industry, right? That is not to say growth, but New York claims itself as the hub of cannabis culture over Cali. Like, I hear that all the time. Like, it's us.
Yeah.
And as somebody who's from Washington, we were always like, nah, what about us? Look at me, help, I want attention, right?
Yeah.
But the reality is that without New York having New Jersey come in, and Mass and Maine, and then Cali and Colorado and all these different, Missouri, I saw illicit brands there, all these different groups, it needs that to happen in order for it to become the number one cannabis destination in the world over California.
Oh, absolutely.
And the reality, Chris, brands are coming to Cali. They're not coming here. They're leaving here. They're going other places. They're not coming to the West. The West is going east and into the middle.
Yeah, it's a natural expansion for sure. We saw that in Las Vegas as well.
Do you have, as somebody who's traveled the country, who's been around, who's recently has gotten there, do you have a go-to product from Daily Green yet? Do you have a go-to joint or a go-to vape or a go-to edible that you find yourself gravitating towards?
Yeah, I have a couple. It's kind of funny because I have such a one of my best friends is Peter Mercado, one of the founders of Revelry, actually. Mm-hmm. And I mentioned some of my picks to him, and it was just kind of funny seeing like I feel like I'm picking some not basic, but like some crowd favorites because only very initial. MFNY is a fantastic local.
Oh, dude, yeah, that great.
And it's obvious, right? It's an easy one to pick, but like it's one of the ones people told me to check out first. In terms of
one of the brands that people are like, okay, they should still be in that list. You know what I mean? Like, I want to pick someone else, but I got to give it to them.
Yeah, no, MFNY, they have some great joints. I love their infused products and I
love their gummies.
Mm-hmm. I'm actually not.
Gummies.
I eat edibles, but they don't work on me.
I
don't have the enzyme that turns it into like the actual activated form. I had the 1,000 milligram Incredibles bar back in the day from Denver.
Yeah.
No effect.
This guy's a Superman.
Yeah, well, is it a curse or is it a superpower? It's a little bit of both sometimes.
At least in the edible category, you could just eat something out of respect to somebody, even if you don't really want to eat it, and it's not going to have the negative impact. You just might not like it. Whereas me, 100%. You give me a 30 milligram or 100 milligram drink, and that's just you're going to see me not talking later, Chris. You're going to see me just chilling. I'm on my phone, kind of like, yawning like crazy. Anything over 20, 30 milligrams ingesting crushes me. It's crazy.
Gotcha. No, I mean, I've tasted their edibles and it's good too. Another rosin brand that I've been a fan of is Oleo out here, which I know isn't just New York. I know it's a little bit of everywhere, but
yeah, they're all over.
They're producing a little bit of fire here too. I love me a good rosin brand. So those are a couple right there. And obviously
Oleo. I've been hearing about Oleo.
Yeah. I also say something that we have here that not a lot of others, a micro grow called Hurley Grown.
Okay.
They've got some fire products too, a little bit, not as a big one, but they've got some solid stuff.
Of course, do you describe yourself as, Chris? Smoker, dabber, obviously not an edible or a beverage person because it's not hitting you the right way. But what categories do you lean towards?
Always flower, man, whether it's a pre-roll or a bong, usually a bong. Here in New York, pre-roll is a lot more common. Just like go, take a walk with a pre-roll, but definitely bongs are usually my go-to.
This guy's a bong guy. I like that, Chris. Have you ever smoked out of a zong before?
Zong. I've heard the name, but it's
like the Z bongs, the ones that go like sideways and stuff like that.
I don't know if I've ever had the chance. I've done like several insane things just through the industry. I've done like I think I've done a 7-footer. I was done the rest of the night. That was at the end of the party.
Oh my gosh, Chris, did you clear the whole thing? Because I did a 6-footer and I couldn't clear it.
Oh God, no. I'm not.
I mean, I'm just saying,
it was respectable.
Super enzyme, super lungs, maybe. I don't know. I was just trying to. Maybe there was a correlation there for you guys.
Maybe.
Now, we've gotten to know you a little bit, Chris, and I appreciate you sharing some of that personal information and letting us just kind of get to know some of the brands that stand out to you and that you enjoy, even some of the events. And I think that's important because community and the brands, the products, that all matters in terms of the industry growing and heading the right direction. Now, let's talk a little bit about the story of the Daily Green. I couldn't help but notice the branding. I couldn't help but notice the website. It all stands out to me like you guys are that Clark Kent Superman kind of vibe. Now, then I hear you on your enzyme and the edibles, and then all right, look, this is the real deal, authentic story here. How did we get into the Daily Green for the name and the branding style? Are you up and aware on all that story and information?
Yeah, absolutely. So it was it was a small group here, just me and two other, Maggie Connors and James Godansky, just two other, it's basically a small group of three, small lady. We had this interesting proposition of this store was actually existed as a different store. They're on the same property of Times Square. It existed as a different name before.
Okay.
Different brand, different company. That model that they were working towards wasn't exactly working, wasn't hitting the right audience here because they were going for a very bougie cannabis experience, something very like Gucci, Dolce & Gabbana focused store. Love the concept. Not necessarily the place for it on Times Square with a lot of tourists. That's a Fifth Ave. That's the Upper East Side. That's Hamptons, which is actually where they're relocating now. There's a lot of a lot of places where that concept could work. So I bring that up only because there's an incredibly posh interior here at this store. And we had to create a brand that fit with that interior without redoing a ton of construction, which was already built out. That was still creating a brand that would resonate with both locals and tourists
some generic dispensary like Can of Greens or New York Wellness, it just wouldn't do it, and that would be the wrong ingredient for that recipe for sure.
No, and there's no reason to not make it iconic and not make something that really stood out. So we engaged with a few different people, and we actually engaged with a guy named Eli Kim, great creative director. So we worked with him and we worked with a few different designs at first. There were a few concepts. One of the concepts that didn't end up happening that I actually want to mention was like a 1960s retro sci-fi vibe.
Ooh.
That we were thinking about at one point. It wasn't as good as the Daily Green concept, but I loved the idea of it. And the Daily Green was something that was proposed originally. The original name that was proposed was actually the Daily High, which is fun, regulatory wise, and just general what the message that we're trying to convey, especially.
I think the word high is a turnoff to some people, right, or something like that.
Consumers, tourists, and that's something that's amazing about this store that I'm sure we'll speak about is that we have people coming in from all over the world. Some people who have never seen cannabis before in real life step into our doors, which is an extremely unique experience. I mean, I've been in the industry over 10 years now, and I have some of the most fun conversations just working the floor.
Yeah.
But with that, we needed an identity that lended itself authenticity to a level of like, oh, we know cannabis, we've experienced cannabis, but also a level of like fun and bringing that New York vibe. And that's where this idea of let's be a faux publication, almost like a parody publication, like the Daily Green, like you exactly mentioned, the Daily Planet, the Daily Bugle,
the Onion.
Exactly. But also the very real history of New York, of the New York Post, the New York Times, the publishing house, the Newsies, very
New York, I would say, is the media capital for the United States in that regard. Absolutely.
Yeah. And that's the history that we wanted to bring to that, and kind of, and it's something that would hit both the locals who work and live around Times Square, who want to like stop at us before they go on the subway ride home, but also the tourists who want to step in and feel like they're getting an experience. And that's where the kind of Daily Green came from. It was a team effort, but we were very excited to kind of create that branding and atmosphere here. So it's kind of like you're stepping in to the Mad Men style back offices of the publication house.
I love it, dude. I love that experience from the e-com side, as I was explaining offline, like going on the website and just seeing immediately what it was like. It was like, oh wow, okay, cool. This is like, you had the ticker like it's New York, right? Like it's the news, and then just the way it's set up really reads as if it was going to become journalistic in format. And then we get to the products, and they're organized by some deals. I saw the mix and matches there. You guys are obviously with the tourism market, you've got to compete for attention. Right. And it's got to be quick. It's got to be what somebody who's on the go is looking for. Discretion, maybe smaller formats versus 2-gram joints formats, things like, or even price point driven formats, which tend to be either smaller in size or like a 5-pack, if you would. Right. And
exactly. And, so we have a little bit of, that's one of the things that we have to balance a lot of the time, is that we have, because it's such a tourist driven market, we see some interesting hourly totals that we don't see in other stores. Like, even in Vegas, which is the market I come from, which is extremely tourist driven, we still see this massive rush from like 9 p.m. to midnight that I've never seen in any other store. Huge rush. Wow. But the hard part is it's a bunch of tourists who only want to have a single pre-roll that they go outside and immediately smoke and leave. Yeah. And our job is a little bit, how do we convince that person through deals, through multi-pack pre-rolls, through an extra lighter? How do we convince that person, hey, we've got other offerings for you, not just a pre-roll? We'll still satisfy your pre-roll offering, but
grab a drink, grab a vape to go back to your state with, but we didn't say that, and grab a pre-roll.
Yeah, exactly. How do we make that happen? How do we have a good offering, an authentic offering as well?
Yeah.
And I think we've been able to capture that pretty well.
Having been to Times Square, stood outside in the windy gusts, and because of the time of year I was in, and smoked a joint, rolled a joint in the wind, smoked a joint. The convenience factor as an actual traveling cannabis consumer for myself, the convenience factor is like level 15 to be in Times Square, to be able to go buy a $5, $10, $15, $20 joint and be able to go stand outside and smoke it, quote unquote, wherever we can smoke a cigarette at. Legally and safely, which is insane. I'd say the tourism value very high in terms of why I would go to New York, just to be able to take an iconic photo and video and create an experience like that.
We have some exciting things we're planning in the future. We have all 5 floors of this building, which is incredible. So the whole building is our operation. What I would like to do, and we have future plans for likely next year, is open up a small consumption space on the roof and have if you're on Times Square visiting New York from the first time and you're a cannabis consumer, buying a ticket to go smoke your joint like in the rooftops of Times Square, is going to be pretty amazing.
Yeah, that's pretty memorable.
Yeah, the selfies, we're going to have a mural wall. It's going to be great.
Yeah, that's powerful, man. And I think that falls right in line again with the overall experience and the culture you guys are trying to deliver and create there within the Daily Green brand. Let's pivot. Let's pivot and talk a little bit about obviously Times Square tourism culture, the community there. You were mentioning though trying to get to the locals. So we're live. Let's talk to these locals. What's important for the locals there that live in Times Square or the immediate surrounding blocks, right? Because there are dispensaries all over the city. There's not a million of them everywhere. But if they already have their guy, what makes you guys different, special, sets you apart from just them doing whatever it is they currently do and not giving you guys more attention or their time?
Yeah, and that exact concept was one of the reasons I was brought into the team because, like I said, I've done consulting and work all over the country, but a lot of it has been based in Vegas for the last 10 years. And in Vegas, people don't realize Times Square is almost exactly like the Strip. There's shows, there's giant screens, it's overstimulating.
It's 24/7.
24/7. There's a ton of tourists, a ton of like buskers and street performers, very, very similar. And while we don't exactly have dispensaries right on the Strip, you still have this very common problem of how do I satisfy my tourists while also convincing locals that I'm not just a tourist shop who's going to rip them off.
Yeah, 1,000%. Because I do know, living here in LA, there's this weird reverse inclusivism. I don't know if I just made up that word. Where it's like, we welcome you to LA, come live your dream and come do it or whatever it is. But also, too, you're not from here. You know what I mean? And like that, I feel like that's pretty common in a lot of places. I come from Seattle. They call it the Seattle Freeze.
Yeah.
And so I get it. But do you feel like the locals, maybe they just don't want to be involved with that craziness or whatever it is that is involved with Times Square? Is that the right thing to say or no?
I think prior management or the prior ownership had just not tried to capture that market. That wasn't what they were going after.
Yeah.
They were just
you said they were very high end in that super luxe situation anyways.
Yeah, they weren't even really going after tourists either. I don't know who they were going after. But our idea is now we have to go for the common man tourists, but then also how do we convince that person who's working at the local hotel or the retail shop
or those food, all the food places on that strip there.
Yeah, I mean, it's Times Square is run by locals. It's all local workers. They're going to get on their trains back to Queens, Brooklyn, or the Bronx. How do we convince them to, like, on the way to their train, stop by and grab their pre-roll here instead of going to the shop that's in Brooklyn? Part of the way is through operational convenience and through a very nice e-commerce platform that gets them an order online. It's ready right when they get there. They get to skip the line. They don't have to interact with the tourists as much. That's a big way. We also have, like you mentioned, we have deals and specials that we're trying to be extremely competitive here in the market. I come from a hyper competitive market in Las Vegas. Like you said, like we've had medical dispensary since 2013.
Yeah, you guys have had, Vegas has a long market. People sleep on Vegas because they just think of the gambling.
Yeah, and the thing is, what's crazy, Vegas legalized medical marijuana in 2001.
Oh yeah, they're one of the OGs, along with Michigan and Oregon, Washington, Colorado, Cali.
Back in the day. And then, like I said, full medical dispensaries was 2013. Full recreational went live in June 2017.
Yeah, I was there in 2017, man. I'll never forget buying that first round of like Khalifa Kush out there in the Planet 13 visits. What an era! And to think about the journey from then to then COVID, the explosion of cannabis legally from an adult use standpoint, or just some states going medical, just making the decision and flipping, right? Yeah. And then now, the journey specifically in New York, right, from the hemp market to them getting licenses, to the social equity getting licenses, to then rounds and rounds and rounds, and then delays and lawsuits. And then here we are, you guys launching over the last, you guys have been open, right, 4 months now, 90 days? Where are we at now?
Yeah, as the Daily Green, we've been open since about May. I think June, July is when we fully turned over the full outside branding, all of that. So about like 4 months.
How exciting, man. And I remember when I was working back in the dispensary that had just opened, Chris, some of the funnest times of my life, helping people, when people just discover, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. This is so cool. And as you said, a combination of tourists and a combination of locals probably all getting that because now they are just walking by. What is more convenient, Chris, than you're literally on the normal path, your normal journey and your 7-day work week, 5-day work week, whatever. And now you look up off your phone and there's a dispensary there, and
Yep.
you need a joint, and you were texting your guy. You don't got to go wait anymore. Now you just got to pop in the local line or put in your express pickup while you wait, and bam, bam, right? And it's so crazy how simplified it's become.
Oh,
Right?
100%. And that's the nice part. And that's one of the things I love about coming to a state like New York is that it's so the legalization and the movement is so new and fresh still that like I'm sure you can empathize like coming from an older market where it's just kind of like the MSOs battling it out for scraps at this point, just hyper competitive, and over regulation, just all of that kind of stuff. Coming to a new fresh state, it feels like the old industry again a little bit. And it feels like having that like, oh, it feels like 2016, 2017 again out here, which is it's just really nice.
I'll give people an extreme example but it's one that I actually experienced. I was an up and coming sales rep for a brand, right? And this is 2021 and 2, this specific story, Chris. Someone walks in and they ask for a plug and play. Store doesn't have it. Person walks out. I'm standing right there. You know what I mean? They're not even remotely interested in anything else. They're so brand loyal. They walk out. Later on that day, person comes in. They look for a specific Stizzy pod. Not there. They leave.
Yep.
That is brand loyalty, folks. Mm-hmm. That right there is what we're all aspiring to be to some degree on the brand side, but and then also too on the retailer side. That's just because they carry the brands. That's just a timing thing and probably like the cash flow because they don't have that SKU, right? You don't buy individual SKUs at a time. You're going to place an order with the brand. But the reality is though we haven't gotten to that level mostly in a lot of these other states. Tourist markets haven't got there yet. Brands, we haven't heard, although people are saying, New York's getting more and more saturated, there aren't 1,000 brands yet.
No, not yet at all.
It's not at that level where, like, as you said, the California brands are coming. The Missouris are going up. The Mass is coming up. The Maine, they're coming. Connecticut, they're coming in. I saw them all there. I met a bunch of them I'd never heard of or seen of before.
It almost seemed like, and it makes sense geographically, a lot of the Northeastern brands got here first, which makes sense. It's the state over, they can thrive here. And it seems like the West Coast is kind of like now catching up. Not that there hasn't been some of the, I mean, Stizzy's been here for a while. Wild's been here. You know, those are always going to come in. But it's nice.
Some of these markets, it took them getting to the point where they could handle multiple brands of the size and scale. Yeah. We're talking millions and millions of carts. We're talking packaging going crazy, manufacturing time, labor, the flower quality needing to be at a certain level for any rosin brand that comes from an Oregon or the West Coast or even Nevada at this point. There's this expectation: is it good enough? And it's all through the wire unless they're physically there at a revelry seeing the product, right? Mm-hmm. And so, big shout out to the people putting the events together. Big shout out to all the brands competing. Big shout out to all the retailers that have paved the way and all the leaders out there in New York. And big shout out to you guys, the Day of the Green, man. You guys are popping up, doing your thing.
I'll add one to that. Shout out back in the day to the activists and the medical patients who made legalization even possible.
Who got it there. Absolutely. People who sacrificed, and oftentimes the most for us to get here.
100%. And that's unfortunate that so many recreational states now put their medical programs on such a back burner. Yeah. And it's not like I started my career in cannabis, actually in activism in Indiana with Indiana Normal and Purdue Normal.
Wow.
Yeah, dude. I was 2013, 2014 at Indiana State Fairs with like a medical marijuana sign and people coming up to me, you're trying to get our kids addicted to heroin. This is a gateway drug. And we had to meet those people where they're at and like have those conversations and not just de-escalate, but make them start to ask the questions.
Oh, Chris, I would have loved to have been there with you. Those who know me, but I grew up in Mooresville, Indiana, guys. I went to the Indiana State Fair as a kid. Mm-hmm. I have heard these comments. My mom and her partner, we found their Indiana Colts pipe that you got from the gas station. The helmet pipe with the metal pipe looking thing. We found that in a box, burnt, smelling like weed. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's Indiana has weed there, folks. People smoke weed in Indiana. They got trauma, man. There's veterans there. There's people there dealing with HIV and AIDS there, folks. People need cannabis as an alternative to just being fed pills, you guys. Please, we got to get y'all to understand.
Yeah, what's so difficult about a state like Indiana and Texas too? People think like, oh, those people just don't want cannabis. They're not voting it in. There's no ballot initiative process in Texas or Indiana. There is no way for a citizen to get something in a constitutional amendment to legalize cannabis. It's not possible. It has to be through legalized representatives, which,
Wow.
as we know, is even harder to get done, and wouldn't have happened.
And day by day, getting more difficult depending on which news station you watch. It's just crazy out here.
Yeah.
Now, circling back to the dispensary and cannabis more in the New York level, because New York is getting momentum. Unlike some of these other states where it's up in the air and blah, blah, blah. New York is getting momentum. We're seeing more dispensaries open, more brands come online. And this next segment, which I wanted to make sure I shout out to Trees again, our sponsor for the episode. This next segment is going to be about brands, okay?
Gotcha.
Popular brands, big brands, data-driven convo right here. We already went through your favorites and some of the ones you like and, things like that. Break it down for me if you could. Who's got some good flower out there? Affordable, mid, and the top tier. That way, because people buy those 3 price points. They come in around 20, they come in around 30, and then there's the 45 plus.
Yeah, we've got some classic, like value brands, Old Pals in a few different states. They've got both pre-ground options and flower options, depending on what you're looking for.
Nice.
The Botanist has some pretty affordable eighths as well. So that's, we have got a good affordable section there. You can get anywhere from like $25 to $35 eighths, depending.
Yeah.
Then you've got, I'd say like, there's some mid-tier, not like, I feel like it's fun. We say mids, like, especially back in the day, we'll say mids is like the worst, but like actually,
I still hear people say it all the time.
Yeah, but here, if it's mid-tier, is actually like, this is the stuff, if I'm just going and buying like just regularly, I'll usually get like a mid-tier. It's still really great smoke. And often you'll find, I don't personally shop on THC. And I think as a whole market will eventually move away from that. I shop based on terpenes. Which is also how we at the Daily Green, we're very terpene focused. We have a bud bar to where you can stop and smell the flowers for yourself.
Oh, cool.
And you can, each of those flower options that we have here, you see the terpene results right there.
There we go.
So our tourists and our locals alike can make informed decisions, smell the flower before buying and know the terps. But anyway, in the mid-tier, we've got, like I said earlier, Hurley Grown's a great one. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to think of others that are like a solid mid-tier.
Another New York one, if you could.
Another New York one specifically.
Hurley Grown.
Hurley Grown's a solid one. I'm almost gonna like pull up my menu real fast here, just so I can.
That's a good point. That's a good moment. I got it. I also have it pulled up here as well. It's just some of these brands, obviously, I know based on price, but I don't know. All of these different companies, like Hurley Grown.
How could I forget? Rolling Green's a local New York one. Rolling Green has some solid flower.
And then who's those top tier guys? When I was out there, I bought something from this group that had like this black and yellowish runts jar when I was there like a year or so ago. That was kind of decent. But who's got the fire out there now these days, Chris?
A big one right now is Cam. Which is owned by PharmaCam. So not exactly just a local New York brand, but they're
from Cali. They're from Colorado via Cali and Cali.
Yeah, exactly. So they're out there, but like their grow here is pretty phenomenal. They have a Bubba's Girl strain out here that is our easily highest selling. Sells out. It's a fantastic strain regardless.
Let's go. Cam making the shout out. Shout out Cam, man. We had Cam on our podcast a couple years ago.
No, Cam's solid. We've also got something that's really popular out here. Again, a very tourist store. We get a lot of people from the West Coast coming through is the Runts brand. Their lemon candy runts, their Obama runts, all of that is
Obama runts to this day one of the most fire runts crosses they've got.
Yeah, and that's the thing I think what I always get back and forth about this, because on one hand, I love having local brands and local strains and like the very unique stuff. And we do have that on our menu. At the same time, though, like even in other industries, if you think about wine, you can say, just like we just did here, you can say a name of like a specific wine or a specific vineyard, and people who know wine will be like, oh, that's amazing. It's the same here. It's an agricultural product. So we know our strains, and I don't know. I feel like some people in the industry want to make it seem like, oh, that's like a sellout or that's an MSO line. It's like, but it's also just like I agree with that, but at the same time, you also have this idea of like, oh, it's popular for a reason. It's a very
Yeah.
well-grown strain. They know their processes. They've invested the time and energy.
Well, you literally pulled up a list of what's on your menu, and it's like all that's a reminder for you of like, okay, well, we're looking at the sales data. You're the director of marketing, director of operations here, so it's like, you know what's selling, you know what people's going in there. You said it also too when you're on the floor, aka you're hearing what people are asking for. I mean, the proof is in the pudding, regardless of whether we like it or not. People are coming in, supply and demand, and the data says what it is. My next question though is paying respect to those legacy, to those local, to those New Yorkers. I know the popularity of sour diesel goes way back. I know the hazes go way back.
Yeah.
I know the piff goes way back. Can we shout out some of the growers that are growing some of their own legacy regional strains that were popular? You got any local beyond Hurley grown and that Rolling Greens group that you can
One
mention?
that is a smaller one, more in the I think they're more in the pre-roll, is like the Moonlit Hash Co. They've got some great little strains there. Again, not a large grow. We don't always have them because we're just buying up like as soon as they like come out with drops. But they've got some fire stuff over there. Trying to look here. I mean, that one is solid. I believe Dank by Definition.
They're in New York, yeah, out of the HPI fame.
Dank by Definition has some solid stuff too.
They're everywhere, dude. I know they crush. They got the dope house of. They're a part of a dope house of brands.
Yeah.
And that Dank by Definition. I mean, I've been hearing about them across the country. When I think about, I did a power rankings article earlier this year, Chris, and I think Heirloom was on it in a big way, and I think I'm going to have to bring some attention to MFNY. And
of course.
From a national perspective, MFNY, the one you just mentioned as well, and Heirloom, obviously, people mention all over the place.
Yeah.
And so it's just New York. It goes without saying has quality manufacturers, and over time, the genetics, the flower, the growing, the scale, the size of these brands will catch up. I have been hearing that Cam is crushing out there, and big respect to Cam for crushing out there. I think that's phenomenal. I mean, it's competition, folks.
Yeah.
If you feel some kind of way about it, get your shit together, respectfully, and that's me saying it. You know what I'm saying? We, as a consumer, we want better flower across the board. I want the best I can get for 25, 40, 50, 60, 70. And if you guys create something, I have bought a $90 eighth before. Fuck around and find out. I will.
Yeah. I mean, if the quality's there, the quality's there. I mean, you can buy 3,000 bottles, 10,000. I mean, the bottles of wine go crazy, so there's no reason we can't get. I mean,
we will buy. Go buy $500 seeds from Sherbinsky's and Compound Genetics. Go buy the shit, grow it phenomenally, cure it even better, dry it perfectly, use science. Call the homies at Canatrol to make sure your shit's cured to the T. Call the homies at Grove Bags to cure it and some other stuff, and then I better see it in some fire ass packaging and charge me a bill if that's what it is. You know what I'm saying?
There's more like there's more intricacies than that too, because again, people see these big brands that come into like New York, like let's say a Runts or a Cam.
Mm-hmm.
They're most likely not moving growers from Cali over here. Maybe a head grower, but they're probably just training.
They bring the team out to go double check everything or to change processes.
But the people they're hiring are the growers in New York. If the strains out here are fire, it's because there were New York growers that they were able to hire, bring on the team. And then, so it's kind of like you have to look at it like they're still creating industry and jobs out here. They're still giving those New York growers a professional place to go and be a head master grower at.
I mean, I'm sure back when Coca-Cola and some of these other big brands in America, which were beloved and are beloved in a lot of ways, right? Yeah. When they first got a plant or a warehouse or a distribution building in small towns across America, I'm sure they didn't all embrace it or love it, but I'm sure the people that got jobs because they couldn't get a job, it changed their life. Kids went to college, food was on the table, gas was in the car.
In the community.
Come on, man. It's a balance, folks. And we can't always think about just how it impacts ourselves. Cannabis has impact beyond just us. I don't just consume weed not to feel better, Chris. The money I spend through the stores goes towards a paycheck. It goes towards a dispensary. It goes towards taxes for our country. Depending on the state I live in, it might go towards teachers or it might go towards infrastructure. Yep. Maybe it goes towards a big fund that we don't know what it's going to go for yet because we haven't voted for it yet, but at least the systems are in place for us to have more impact. Chris, it's been a great conversation so far, man. I appreciate your time today. I want to make sure we do a big shout out to Trees for providing the opportunity for us to have this convo and to talk New York cannabis and the culture. Chris, before I let you get out of here, my last question: sour diesel, haze, or piff? Which do you notice as the actual favorite there in New York? Just out of those three strains, which do you get talked about more?
Oh, I definitely, if I work the floor, there's probably not a shift where I won't hear someone ask about sour diesel.
There we go.
Or the version, of course, like NYC diesel.
Yeah,
like,
the nurse. Yeah.
One of the two. But
that's interesting. Specifically that one too, though, huh?
Yeah, because again, it's New York. It's Times Square. The tourists are already thinking, what is a New York strain to come get? Yeah. So they're always asking about sour diesel or NYC diesel.
Does that same thing happen outside of the flower category? To expand on that, does that still happen in vapes, for example? Because you can get an NYC diesel or a sour D vape.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the most interesting things about our store, flower, is our fourth category. Or our fourth. You know, okay. I've been in the industry a decade, and I do KPIs for a lot of different dispensaries, and I do data reporting for a lot of like players out there. This is the only dispensary I've ever seen where flower is not at least one or two. It's nuts. And again, it's because the main bowl, like even for locals are mostly buying our flower. But even for locals, like I said, if they're just getting off like a hotel shift or a retail shift, they're probably just getting.
So you're talking just the flower category. Does that make pre-roll number one or vapes number one?
Pre-roll, vapes, edibles. Wow. Every time. Sometimes vapes and pre-rolls will flip-flop depending on the week, but it's usually pre-rolls, vapes, edibles.
Wow.
Convenience factor.
Times Square, Daily Green, flower category number 4, pre-roll 1, vape 2, edibles 3. What is the world we live in? But at the same time,
it's the New York minute, man. It's the fast-paced walking. You got to smoke and walk and go.
But you take a moment and you roll one up like how I did, and you think about it. It does make sense because the psychology of the people in that area, very much, let's go, very much discreet, very much hustle, very much working. How much time do they have to grind, roll up, break? Where would they be able to smoke the bong, right? The flower, the pipe is going to smell. They're on their way going this and that. It's a lot to think about, whereas a joint, you just throw it away and you're on, boom, boom, bam, bam.
Same thing with a vape. And there's so many, one of the interesting thing is there's so many different types of vapes, technologies of vapes, different, like all the different, types of terpenes you can use, quality. So vapes is frequently up there. And even for edibles, I mean, especially the drink category, you mentioned Heirloom earlier, fantastic drinks. Some of our top sellers, we got a beverage like 4 for $20. Get 4 little beverages for $20. You got a group coming in, people, can't beat that.
Yeah, that's great.
Some
Cheers.
Stuff. Drink it. Go to your.
That Honey Crisp apple was fire.
Yeah, absolutely.
Delicious. I know all about that. I actually, I believe I did one of those reviews on the subway one time when I was out there. I think that one's on YouTube. Big shout out to Heirloom. Big shout out to New York. Big shout out to you guys, man. Chris, it's been a great conversation. I feel like I've learned so much, and you've definitely exposed me and created some awareness for some brands. And big shout out to the brands that you've mentioned. Big shout out to everybody on your team. Congratulations for the launch and being open and this journey that you guys are embarking on. And I look forward to following along and supporting. Everybody watching, we'll be sure to bring them back on here again soon. So definitely go check out their website. Let me pull it back up here. TheDailyGreenNYC.com. You guys can check them out in Times Square. Pick up. They do close at midnight, so they're open late. Get your asses
1 a.m. on Fridays.
The best part is when you're open that late, Chris, we can go a couple times. You know what I'm saying? I can go before the hotel. I can go to dinner. I can pull back up. Then I can go do the 12 a.m. Midnight nighttime night party stuff walking around New York. And let's go. That's exciting.
It's a fun one for sure.
Chris, thank you again for your time. Everybody watching, like, follow, subscribe, talk shit about me, but show love and go visit the Daily Green, New York City, Times Square. I love you all. We'll catch you next time. Peace.